Hi, everyone. Welcome to Talk is Cheap. I'm your host, Carrie T, aka Miss Carrie, baby. And I'm here live in Dallas, Texas. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you guys this week. And I'll also be seeing you tomorrow, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later. So just a little bit, things that's been going on this week and everything. So I hope that everything is good with you guys as well. And we're still dealing with COVID. Last week I did talk a lot about the coronavirus, and just thinking about how those numbers have risen since last week, and then also with talking about the presidential election and how the inauguration went, which was great, and the things that Trump is also getting charged for as well, related to the presidential election and inauguration and the Capitol attack. So just those thoughts on those are just pretty heavy of mine, and just thinking about them and what's occurred over these past couple of weeks. And then also, let's just take a moment of silence, for individually. I won't do it on here, but just for those celebrities that have passed. We always Most of us don't base our lives off of celebrities, but we do become close to them watching their movies. They could be your favorite actor. We just love seeing them in a presence. So big shouts out to and RIP to Cicely Tyson, and big shouts out to Tyler Perry, that have gave wonderful remarks. And her career was already advanced at a young age because she was the one of the first African American women models at the time. And then also just growing into his movies over the years as she's been older. He's always kept her working, as we say. So I have enjoyed her. She was 96 years old, but I've seen some people say, y'all, she was 96. I said, well, I don't care if she was 110. I wanted, if it's possible, I would want her to live forever. My grandparents to live forever. My mother, my father, anybody around me, I would want them to live forever, but we know life does end, and you have to pass over and go to heaven. And we just pray that we get over things. But RIP Cicely Tyson. And then also Saved by the Bell was one of my favorite shows in the 90s growing up, and I enjoyed watching them. So shouts out to Dustin Diamond, sorry, who recently found out that he had cancer 3 weeks ago. He had stage 4 cancer, and then he recently just passed a couple of days ago. So that's Dustin Diamond. He plays Screech on Saved by the Bell. It's just really hard, man. It's kind of make you think about when they revamping their careers and something happens to their life, and it's like, wow. Not saying that it's it's not destined to happen, because we don't know when we're gonna pass over anything, but this also just making sure that you have your life right before you do go, or that you've done things that you would like to do to let your legacy live on and make a name for yourself, no matter what age you are. The time to start is now. You could be be young kids, or be teenagers, or be young adults, or even older, and get things started with your life and your legacy and how you would like to be remembered here on earth. So just um, you know, just RIP to them. And also some other celebrities that have passed. Larry King, from CNN, greatest CNN host ever to me. And he was 88. He was pretty older. And then also Sophie. She was some American singer that was about 34 years old, up and coming. She died this week as well, along with some others. So it's messed up that, those things happen. But we also know that they're in a better place, and we enjoy their work that they have done here on earth, and, making us entertained, keeping us entertained, and just letting their legacy live on. So also, happy Black History Month. Yes. So just a little thing about Black history, just a little fun facts about that. The celebration of Black History Month began as Negro History Week, which was created in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson, a noted African American historian and scholar, educator, and publisher. So, wow, we went from Negro Week, just like a week, to, an entire month. And a lot of people have a lot of controversy about, well, why is it the shortest month? Or we joke about it in our community as well. As a population, we joke about having the shortest month or things, but we celebrate all cultures, we celebrate all ethnicities, and then also just it is great that we are thankful for this month as well to be celebrated in. And then also, it became a month-long celebration in 1976. The month of February was chosen um, because of Frederick Douglass's birthday, which is this month, and Abraham Lincoln's. So don't think, oh, they just gave us this short month. No, they chose it because of a slaves abolitionist, Frederick Douglass, and then the 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, that abolished slavery during his presidency. And so also the NAACP, great national African American organization, and it's marked its 110th anniversary throughout the years. The NAACP have done a lot for our communities, and they have, made a stand for African Americans and led the way for us. And a lot of famous activists and civil rights leaders that we know of back in that time have also paved their way and have been a part of that organization. So just a little bit more fun facts with Black History Month that you may not know. So heavyweight champ for Black History Month is Jack Johnson. He became the first African American man to hold the World Heavyweight Championship boxing title in 1908. He held that title until 1915. So that's cool. And then shouts out to all the lawyers out there. So the first African American lawyer was John Langston. He passed the bar in Ohio in 1854, and he was elected to post of town clerk for Ohio in 1855. So Langston became one of the first African Americans ever elected to public office in America. John Langston was also a great uncle of Langston Hughes, the famed poet of the Harlem Renaissance. And then we also know, and shouts out to and RIP to Rosa Parks, who was one of the first, famous protesters during the civil rights movement for the Montgomery bus boycott, which we learn about that in school and we know. But it's great because she has paved the way for us women as well, and African Americans. And then the first African American U.S. Supreme Court appointed was Thurgood Marshall. He was appointed by President Lyndon B. Johnson. So that's something new as well. If you didn't know that he was appointed by Lyndon B. Johnson. And then everybody knows, also paving the way for African American women and entrepreneurs, Madam C.J. Walker was the first self-made millionaire at this time and philanthropist. And then also the first professional Black baseball player was, of course, Jackie Robinson back in 1947. And the first Black billionaire, I found this one, like I knew, because over time she is amazing and I watch her shows as well. But it's also just like, oh, wow, she's, the first one is Oprah. It's Oprah. And she's not, Oprah's in her 60s. So it's just like, oh, wow, you would think it was somebody older. You'd be like, hey, what? The first billionaire? But you have to think about the money and increments and how things worked at that time. Like they'll show you a certain price of how much something was worth. Like, oh, this person had a lot of money, but compared to what $100,000 was back then, that was considered rich. To now, they'll compare it and say, oh, in 2020 and 21, that would have been $1 million or so, or something, or a different amount higher. And then, of course, our first Black president was Barack Obama in 2008. And shout out to our vice president, African American descent and Asian descent, Kamala Harris, in 2021. So that's great. That's just a little fun facts. And then some things that you may or may not know. So happy Black History Month. And so also I just want to talk to you guys for a minute about things that I see that's going on in the world and dealing with mental health as well in the Black and Brown community. So I'll also be listing off some fun facts and things about that as well. Always just presenting factual information about what's going on in our community and our society today. And, you know, like I say, no disrespect to any other ethnicities. I believe in unity and staying united, but also just for Black History Month, us focusing in on like I said, our Black and Brown communities and things that's going on in our own population during this time of the year. So 13.4% of the U.S. population, is nearly 46 million people, identify themselves as Black or African American. Another 2.7% identifies as multiracial. So that means that they have Black descent, and they also may have Caucasian, Asian, Indian descent or African descent. And then also, there are 55% of all Black and African American people lived in the South. 18% lived in the Midwest. 17% lives in Northeast, and 10% in the West. The Black immigrant population in the U.S. increased to 816,000 since the 1980s to over 4.2 million by 2016. 39% were from Africa. Nearly half were from the Caribbean. More than 1 in 5 Black and African American people, in the U.S. lived in poverty as of 2018. And then also as a social worker, I can attest to that comment, the factual comment about living in poverty. I always see a lot of our community services are in low income areas or areas that is living in poverty, or in our rural areas, those outer counties or cities or towns that are not getting as much funding as one, or where things are where people are lacking, but they live there because things are, most likely cheap in rural areas that are outside of the big city, the next largest city or the big city. And then also, it's just an eye awakener to say, well, how you know somebody rich or somebody that is middle class doesn't need these services? No, that's not saying that to that, but it's just saying that they do put it more in the low income areas because of that's where homeless people do most likely stay, or they go towards the downtown areas are very high out here in Dallas as well, in other cities, major cities. So I'll just continue, reading facts about things in, like I said, in the Black and Brown communities that are aligning with mental health awareness. So a little bit about that, drug use and health within our community. 16% of Black and African American people reported having a mental illness. 22.4% of those reported a serious mental illness over the past year. So 16% of that population that I said earlier is the 4.8 million said it they have a mental illness, have reported a mental illness, or have been diagnosed by a psychiatrist or a doctor with that illness. And then 22.4% reported a serious mental illness. So just thinking about some of these things, so you say, well, reported a mental illness, then you say a serious mental illness. There is a difference between the two, not only because they put it as different on there, but when they say a mental illness, that could be autism. It can be a sign like they came in for mood disorders or anxiety, and then or you had PTSD, and then your serious mental illness. Not saying that those are not serious, but more severe will be, and you're more common that people have too, like the higher numbers, is your generalized anxiety disorders, and your your bipolar disorders, your schizophrenic or schizoaffective disorders that are more severe. So it's not taking away the seriousness of having a mental illness, but it's just the severity of that mental illness and how it affects one's behaviors and the type of medication that they're on. So it is at a higher number for the Black and Brown community. A serious mental illness rose among ages of Black and African American people between 2008 and 2018. So that's a 10-year over time, 10 years over time that this mental illness and having a mental illness has skyrocketed in within that 10-year period. And like I said, I'll follow up on some of these things because it's knowledgeable to me as well when I'm reading and coming up with things for the show to discuss and to bring awareness to you guys, that I'll look more into why is that number surprising over that 10 years higher over time than it most likely would be. So despite rates being less than the overall US population, major depressive episodes increased 9%. Oh, wow. And then 10.3%. So it went up a total of 1.3%, which it doesn't give the actual numbers, but that can be from, let's say it was 800,000 people. Now it goes up to 1 million people that have had major depressive episodes. And then with youth that are ages 12 through 17, they are 6.1% to 9.4%. So teenage years or your preteen to teenage years are having more issues or having, I don't necessarily want to just say issues, but they're having more mental health situations or episodes occurring than they normally would, or those numbers have also went up. So I do encourage, let's have these talks with, not even just having to be a parent, but your cousins or your younger family members. Have those talks with them and see what's going on in their life. I can always, like I said, as a social worker, I can see things in that age from 12 to 17. You're starting high school. You can be anxious about that. You're pressured to go to college at the age of 17, turning 18. It's a number of things that can go on during that time. So also just being mindful of that. Excuse me. So during those time, it's just about being mindful of those things that could be occurring in, your teenager's life or the young era's life there in this younger generation. I'm not giving them a pass or justifying, because our generations, we have all been through things, but I could see why numbers would rise during these trying times. A lot of kids are probably thinking about you know, what's important to them at this time is I can't see my friends at school. It could be something as small as that to where we saying, oh, don't worry about that. Or you shouldn't be thinking about just seeing your friends. You should be trying to get an education, you know, but that's important to them. And some schools haven't even been back since COVID has started, or just like I said, the small things about being a eighth grader and knowing that next year I gotta make my grades, or being told that those high school grades count, and being anxious about starting a new school as a ninth grader. Or a lot of campuses or around, or counties around, are also getting a ninth grade center. I know here in Dallas, we have a few schools in surrounding counties that have formulated a ninth grade center for their ninth graders. Because when you think about starting a ninth grade, it is a lot of unanswered questions, or like I said, that anxiety is high about going to a new school, meeting new people. And then it's kind of the change for the next 4 years. And then also in young adults, 18 to 25, they went from 5.7% to 6.3%. So that's also a rise. You're turning 18. You have a lot of things, you know, like I said, have a lot of things on your plate as well as an 18-year-old. Your parents want you to go to college. Maybe you don't want to go to college. Maybe you're trying to still find yourself, um, and you know, knowing that you're going to be a young adult now, or consider that, you know, at least by the state of Texas or any other state. You at 18, you can do what you want, basically. Um, and then, you know, maybe you're starting to, at 18 you get your, you know, you probably was driving at 16, but at 18 that's when you really like get your license, focus on that, go get a car. You probably want to get a car, or your parents hand you down a car. um you also want to, you think about being 21, or feel like you're getting older. A lot of 18-year-olds feel like, oh, I'm grown now, I can do this, I can do that. Or I think about when I was 18 too. I was a little anxious about starting college. I was 3-4 hours away from home, and I was like, wow, this is gonna be new. I don't have anybody to, you know, be that alarm system sometimes, wake me up. um, or say, or on me about, like, go to school, today's school. It was just like, wake up for class, and you may have an 8 a.m. or you may have a 10, or your first class could even really start at like 1 or 2 p.m. And you like, man, I gotta, you know, that's just starting to being an adult, picking the right classes, picking the right things to do, probably even finding, like, what if something happened at her? You can't, you know, you can't always call mom or dad to, you know, help you out. So I could see those numbers increasing there as well. And then the last listed age group on here is 26 to 49. So you have taken that young adult, I call the 20s like the end of the young adults. Now they're not the end of it, but you know, like that, over that 25 mark on up to age 49, 50, which is I call them the middle generation, because they're not really necessarily, they're not old, but a lot of them have older children. A lot of them are becoming grandparents around 40, 50. So that I could always see why those numbers are also high. And especially, like I said, during these times of COVID and life changing things that are affecting some families differently than you've been affected, or even the things that you have gone through as well. And then also things that have um, influenced or been frequently used by the Black and Brown community that have a mental illness, that have not in is not a good encouragement, but that are utilized, is binge drinking. A lot of, you know, we see it a lot in our population, African Americans. They do like to binge drink. They like to smoke cigarettes and marijuana. Um, and then also, as a substance abuse recovery tech, I can say And I'm okay with saying this. Not saying that it's not happening in any other ethnicities, but I can say that the clients and individuals that do come into our facility, a lot of the times you have your Caucasian males, and and as of COVID, am working directly with males. So no matter the age, we can have one, 18, it's 18 on up, of course. But this is not even just going off for different ages because, like I said, I have a lot of different ages that are addicted to different things. But race wise, ethnicity wise, the African Americans guys that do come into our facility are most likely um, addicted to prescription drugs or opiates, or it's like sleeping pills or different things like that. I very seldomly have a visit from someone that's Caucasian or Hispanic males that are addicted to prescription drugs. I have some individuals right now that are addicted to prescription drugs that are African American. And then most of my Caucasian or Hispanic males, they're addicted to um, meth. Meth is really big. Cocaine is huge in that population as well. But I will say one thing that most races have in common during this time is marijuana. Um, I'm seeing marijuana. I see it as a gateway drug to all the other drugs now. They usually used to say that you smoke cigarettes, then that was leading you to different things. But I see that marijuana is becoming something, over, or, being the expansion of all the getting back into all the other drugs. Not saying that those drugs haven't been around, but people smoke weed and then they want something to get them higher. And then also males are the leading cause, not the leading cause, but the most likely to get help for their substance abuse. And their numbers are actually higher too, as well, towards becoming recovering addict or eating, or even coming back into the facility and reoccurring addicts as well. So guys, yeah, I'm just gonna wrap it up. I enjoyed talking to you guys tonight and giving, like I said, little history lessons about some things in the Black and Brown communities, the African American community, and just want to say Happy Black History Month. Hope you guys enjoyed this one-on-one show tonight, and then tomorrow I'm doing a special series. Also, it's called the panel discussion, and it's called My Own Awareness, the panel discussion. And that will be tune in tomorrow night, right there on the screen, February the 3rd at 7 p.m. Central Time. And it's called For My Own Awareness, the panel discussion. I have 3 amazing ladies that are reoccurring guests, and they are very supportive. I talk to these ladies, more frequently over time, and we check on one another. And we've always, we built that long life connection, and them supporting me in my show, and then me supporting them in the things that they do and the businesses that they run. And some of them, a couple of them are mental health professionals, my fellow mental health professionals as well. And then also one young lady that is an author. She's great, and she's also in the corporate industry as well. So they will come together with myself, and hopefully y'all enjoy the show tomorrow. The first ever panel discussion, and more to come. So update on guests, like it's amazing. The people that I meet and that I will have on the show this season. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in and supporting me as well. And if you would like to be a guest, see the link at the bottom to contact Podcast of Dallas info at gmail.com. You can get on for season 3 or season 4. And like I said, I'm not doing too many breaks in between seasons this year. So hopefully I'll hear from you soon to get you in. So once again, I'm your host, Miss Carrie Baby, Miss Carrie T, aka Miss Carrie Baby, and this has been Talk is Cheap. Hope you enjoyed it. Happy Black History Month, guys, and tune in tomorrow. Yes. All right. Thank you.